Welcome back to Lochbaum Music. So the last two videos we've been going over the key of D, the D family, and open chords. So we went over D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, and there's a C diminished chord that we're not going to worry about, and then it's back to D. So what can you do with those chords? There's some cool things you can do. So if you're just playing a D major chord, there's a couple things you can do that make it sound really cool. And if you've heard this song, yeah, I'm free, I'm free falling. All that is based off of a D major chord. So the only thing that Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are doing in that song, or John Mayer if you listen to that, they're hammering on the 3rd fret on the bottom string, right? And then they're lifting the middle finger. So there's nothing on the bottom string at all now. It's a D sus chord, D suspended. Right? So it sounds pretty, right? But that is the whole song. So if you know where to kind of pull off and add your fingering, you can really brighten up your music and make it a lot more interesting. So if you were just playing a D major chord, yeah, I'm free, I'm free falling. But no, he has the I think that's a D add 4, and that's a D suspended chord. But anyway, basically he's just hammering on the that E string, and then it's a D again, and then it's nothing. It's a D suspended. So he's taking his middle finger off. So the difference sounds, it makes a huge difference, right? And I'm free, I'm free falling, right? It sounds so much busier. It's really, really pretty. I love that song. So that's one thing you can do with the D major chord. Just incorporate those, the hammer-ons. Right? Another thing you can do is you can add this thumb on the 2nd fret. That sounds really good when you're transitioning from a D major chord to a G major chord. So it's like, right? It's called a walk up or a walk down. Right? Sounds pretty. So you could make things sound really interesting with a D major and just a G major chord. So I've told you a little bit, there are different ways to hold a G major chord. Depends what kind of sounds you want. So a really popular way when you're playing like a G, like let's say we're in the key of G. We haven't gone over G yet, but we've gone over a lot of chords that are in the key of G. Let's say we're playing a chord progression transition from G major to C major to D major, right? A really popular method is to put those two fingers on the bottom like I showed you in a previous video. And so what I'm doing with that C chord, you'll notice I've got these two fingers. So this is the traditional way to play C major, right? And you'll notice I'm keeping those, but I'm keeping the bottom two notes from that G major chord. That right there, I think is a, what is it, a C add 4? Alright, so you can keep that G major and just drop the top two fingers, so your middle finger and your pointer finger, just drop them both down a string. And then you got a pretty sounding C chord. I think it's a C add 4. And then you can go to your natural D, which is just a D major, and back to, then push back down with your pinky and go back to that C major, and then back up a string with both fingers to a G major. It sounds really pretty. So that's one really popular approach when you're playing in the key of G with the G major chord. And normally when you're playing in a key, a lot of songs will they'll either start with the chord that is the key itself. So normally if you're starting a song and the song starts out in G, like the first chord is a G major, most of the time that is going to be the key. It'll be in the key of G. It's not always the case, but most songs it is. It will be that, or it will be, for G, it would be E minor. So it's going to be that, or it's minor 6. And I'll explain why in another video. But, so I've showed you the cool thing you can do with G major. Another cool thing you can do with G is on this A string, so where your pointer finger is. It sounds really good if you lift that up and kind of hit it as you're strumming. So see, everything else is stationary. My middle finger is stationary, my ring and my pinky finger are stationary. But I'm hammering on this string. Right? So you can get a lot of flavor and a lot of color. I've got a friend of mine who wrote a song, and it's uses that. So it's like, it's really cool intro, right? So that's a cool thing you can do with G major or also C major. So I'm just lifting my middle finger and hammering on. Right? So what you should start to do is when you've got a chord, like let's say you got an A major. One cool thing you can do with A major is you can start to, you can start making partial chord shapes. So A major is like that. They're all on the same fret, right? If I were to lift off my pinky, it becomes an A suspended chord. If I were to put my pinky on the 3rd fret, I forget what that chord is called, but it sounds good. So I wrote a song that's kind of like this. And you get the idea, but that it's a lot of flexibility musically for just an A major chord. I mean, my fingers aren't going anywhere, you know? I'm not doing anything crazy on the frets or anything. Like, I'm just lifting, pushing on the 3rd fret on the B string, and then going back to my A major. If I was strumming. So start to practice those hammer-ons and those pull-offs on your open chords, because they'll make your music sound a whole lot better. And then when we get into later videos where we're finger picking, we can start to add, it adds like a whole new dimension to the songs that you're writing or playing, and your ability to cover songs. It can really change the sound of songs that you do. So start playing around with, once you get the chord basics down, you know, like, you know, you actually get the patterns correct and you can memorize them and transition them. Start seeing what it sounds like if you take a finger off of one of those. So, you know, so instead of playing an E minor, lift up your middle finger. You know, and just see how it sounds. See if it still sounds good. Some of them will sound good, and some of them, like that F sharp minor, if you lift up the bottom ones, it sounds bad. So play around with them, and you'll start to get a feel, and you'll start to develop an ear for what sounds good, and kind of interesting things that you can do to spice up just normal campy songs that are kind of slow, and you know, you don't just want to play chords over and over. You want to kind of make it more interesting if you can. So with that being said, this video is longer than I wanted it to be, but hopefully it gave you some cool things to look at, ways to spice up and throw some variety into your chords and your guitar playing. So practice what we went over in this video. All right, take care. Thanks.